Hello everyone, this is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this newest episode of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me as always is Michael from Tactica Imperialis.
Hello everyone.
And I think you just cut out.
No, I did the intro.
And joining us this week as our guest, as a returning guest, none other than WarGamerGirl.
Hello, how you guys doing?
It's too hot and I'm melting.
I don't care about the weather right now. I've finished my PGCE. I have a job. So, yeah, I couldn't care less about what the weather's doing. I'm good.
Fair enough. I am enjoying some personal time vacation at home, so I can be here, which is actually awesome. And it's kind of weird timing, because we're hanging out here right before GW's big announcement.
Yeah.
Yes.
GW kind of, for want of a better word, kind of stiffed us by not announcing this sooner so we couldn't rearrange the show. Sorry, I'm stealing Rem's thunder here.
That's quite all right. So they are promising some really big announcement for tomorrow at the time of recording, because we are recording on the Friday. So we won't know anything about what's being revealed as of yet. So
With one exception.
But the price hike.
No, we know one thing that's getting revealed tomorrow. If they don't reveal it, then there'll be a riot.
Oh, you mean the Silent King?
Yeah, that.
And no one cares about the Silent King, though.
I am confused as to why everybody is so in love with the Silent King.
I think it's the mystery of the whole thing, because the Silent King obviously was introduced at the Great Neck Retcon of 5th edition, as I call it, as this sort of supreme ruler of the entire Necron race. And then he buggered off and then came running back again after finding the Tyranids to try and reunite the entire Necron species. So there's definitely an aura of mystery around a character like that. Someone so powerful yet so hubristic that they damned an entire species in one move, then dug the species out of the same hole he dug for them, and then buggered off and left them to it. That's an interesting character.
So basically, the Emperor if he was a robot.
Okay.
I mean, he is the Necron's equivalent of a Primark or even the Emperor. We don't know where his I think his stats will probably fall somewhere around either Abaddon tier or somewhere around Guilliman tier. Because, bear in mind, Guilliman's the worst Primark in terms of combat stats. Like, Mortarion and Magnus would both kick him around. And I think even Gazgul would give him a good beating. So I think he's probably going to fall around Guilliman tier in terms of his stats, but he might fall a little bit lower than that depending on how powerful they want to make him relative to the Phaerons and to the Primarchs.
It's just weird for them to make him a playable character at all. He kind of seems beyond, like he should be beyond what somebody can lose in a game with.
Yeah, it's kind of the same argument in regards to when they start bringing back, the Demon Primarchs as tabletop models. It kind of like, wow, you finally getting this opportunity to play such a godlike character in terms of power level kind of thing. It's a bit weird to do so in a way.
Yeah, I mean, the Emperor is not a playable model yet, right? Is that the next announcement?
He will be in 30k.
Oh, God. Well, that makes a little more sense, I guess.
Yeah.
But yes.
We just don't know when he'll get his model, but it'll probably come up around the time the Black Books get around to the Siege of Terror.
Oops. But I guess the major thing everyone's expecting are the price adjustments, right?
Yeah, about 450-ish items are getting a price hike. So, on average, it looks like about £3 or so everything's being increased by. But obviously, this will depend on the model or product specifically. Like, for example, Khorne Berserkers, the old 3rd edition mold, they've gone up by like £5, which is not worth it considering how old those bloody models are.
No, for sure. I mean, it seemed like on average here in America, it's an average of about a $2 increase across the board.
Yeah,
which
that sounds about right. Yeah,
is pretty unfortunate for solos that are already as expensive as they are.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's just, I understand that price hikes will be inevitable just because of inflation. It's inevitable.
Absolutely. I think the timing of it just makes it sting a bit more for people.
Yeah, especially with the whole Steve Carino situation. People
it may well be that this is a direct
income.
response to the Steve Carino situation, because they say in the same article that the factory is just coming back online and there'll be pre-orders from, I think it was the 30th, they'll be starting pre-orders up again.
Yeah. But yeah, at the very least, that does mean we are going to start getting new orders and new product from the store and that as well, which I suppose, silver linings and all that. But I suppose it's a compromise in this time. It doesn't mean we have to like it, but it's just the way things are currently.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and defend it. Absolutely not. But with the current climate being what it is, stinging as it is, I can understand why it's had to happen, even if I don't like it. And I'm one of those people who's not very affected, because I've got a spare £5 for a box of stuff. I've got a spare couple of quid to add to my already ridiculous paintbrush bill. I can take it, whereas I know some other people can't, so I'm not probably the best qualified to speak on the matter.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, some of the price hikes aren't that bad. Like the Khorne Bloodbound Wrathmongers, for example, that's like a 50p increase. That's not really much, really, let's be honest. So that's not.
Yeah, and a lot of the
really
endless spells that are sat at like £27.50 might go up to £30, or from £25 to £27.50. It's a small increase, really. But when you're buying, say, a 3,000 point army, like best example I've got is the Daughters of Cain. Every single model in the Daughters of Cain range, except Witch Elves, who are already horrifically overpriced, has gone up, I think. I don't know if the Cauldron of Blood has, and I don't know if Witch Elves, I didn't get the whole way through, but all the specialist troops and Marathi have gone up. So if you want an army that isn't 90 Witch Elves, which was already costing you £300 to do, like you want to play a mixed Daughters army? Yeah, that'll be a lot more. And Harlequins as well. I think the entire Harlequin range has gone up. So you want to play Harlequins a lot? Especially with Psychic Awakening 9 now coming out? Have fun with that.
I can see that. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it's still a luxury hobby, right? So you either are into it and can make the space or the room for it, or you can't. And it's not like we don't have that pile of shame that we need to be painting through anyway. So, I mean, if people need more time, maybe they should just focus on that.
Fair point.
Have you guys gotten a lot of painting done during this time of... Yeah?
I did. I got through... Let me look through what I got through. I got through a squad of Vespid, an Alapex, a Shadow Sun, a squad of sniper drones, a pile more drones, a Fire Warrior team, a Breacher team, a Tidewall shield line and a defense platform, and I reconverted my Cadre Fireblade. Then I got busy with job interviews. I've got half a Breacher squad left, I've got a Tidewall drone port left, and I kind of panic bought before lockdown started, so I've also got a Shock Jump Dragster, a Mech Boy workshop, and an entire Daughters of Cain start collecting sat there, staring at me like, you should not have spent that much. You knew you were going to get busy, you fool. So unless lockdown continues, which it may or may not, then I'm going to have... I'll probably get through most of the pile, but that Daughters of Cain is just going to sit there judging me for probably several months until I've started.
Oh, is that all? Is that all you've done? Wow. What about you, Remleiz?
That's what. No, nothing painted. I still have to assemble some models because I actually got that the Night Lord Cataphracti Praetor, which I still need to assemble. Haven't taken out the blister yet, but I did finally get my Bandai Primaris figure, which is actually absolutely lovely.
I was watching.
Some people still haven't gotten theirs.
Oh yeah, it looks like they just recently, I guess a lot of people were just recently receiving their models. But yeah, that's a massive action figure.
It is quite chunky, boy. It's very dense
It's
plastic as well,
there.
so, you can throw it, it's probably not going to break. I mean, quality's pretty top-notch overall, though the head joint on mine is scarily tight. Like, you try and tie it, it's like, oh god, don't like that. But aside from that, the only issue I have is that the elbow pads are prone to being knocked off, but I don't know if that's a universal issue or just mine.
The review I saw mentioned the same exact thing, including the tightness in the neck area too. It makes a horrible noise to turn. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my only real complaint about it, aside from the elbow pads, is the gold on the chest looks a little flat, but you could probably just give it a bit of a wash or something and it'll probably pop it a bit more. But yeah.
Yeah, I think they probably didn't do all the washes and highlights on it that we would do as hobbyists, so...
I mean, there are some, like, there's some shading on, like, you know, the greaves and the limbs and stuff, so it's not completely devoid of paint apps. But the fact it's mostly unpainted coloured plastic is a good thing, because that means you're not going to be really chipping the paint when handling it, which is a big plus. Now, I know some people said that these figures were rather expensive when they first came out, being like £80, but it's still cheaper than what they're going for on Big Bad Toy Store, which is selling them from like $215, which is like 3 times the price GW was selling them for.
Oh, wow.
Well, 2.5 times the price, but yeah.
There was a similar issue with that with the Catachan kernel model for the independent stores here in the US, where the GW.
Oh yeah, the Carl Weathers one.
Yes, which I did get, and I love him, and he's amazing. But I didn't pay $300 for him, which apparently was what some folks were paying on eBay to try and get a hold of this super exclusive model. So yeah. It ended up being a bit of a drama out here, just because GW is like, here, independent stores, we're going to help you out. Here's 3 or 4 of these. I know you're in lockdown. I know you're worried about paying your bills. Sell them for $35. And then they're like, no, we'll just sell them on eBay to the highest bidder. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I know some stores have used the Catachan guys as giveaways, prizes, to give the people a chance rather than scalping them. But that will depend on the store.
Right. And the one here was really good. They just sort of did, I think, pre-orders in order of how they received them, I guess. And I was super on top of, like, give me one. So I got it. Getting some of my Catachans painted up. My friend came over and painted some tattoos on them the other day. So they're looking
nice.
Pretty boss.
Please tell me you also have the Arnold Schwarzenegger-looking Slime Arvo figure as well. I
haven't received him yet, but he's on the way.
Just so you can actually, reenact Predator.
Of course. Oh, gosh, yeah. I have so many memes I need to make.
You just need a model for the Predator, so just get a Kroot and convert it, I guess.
That's an interesting idea. It'd be fun. I need to get my jungle terrain, because I've got a 3D printer, so I need to make some sweet jungle terrain and just reenact it all.
And now my head's just full of that scene saying, like, Dylan, you son of a bitch. Hand explodes because the power fist. Bad idea.
Oh, man. See? There you go. You need to help me with these.
Yeah, that was one I was going around Twitter for quite a while. But yeah. I know a lot of people are saying it looks like it looks like the guy from Halo, so it's clearly Carl Weathers from Predator. Let's get that monumentally clear.
So there's if you look at the back of the box, there's an alternative paint job that's not Carl Weathers, but yeah, I mean, anybody who doesn't paint him to look exactly like Carl Weathers is missing out.
Oh yeah, obviously. What else do we have in the news this week aside from that? I mean, what do you reckon is going to be announced tomorrow aside from the Silent King?
Man, I keep feeling like we're due for a new edition, man.
But when I may have this wrong in my head, so please correct me. When 8th was being hyped and dropped, I feel like they said that 8th was going to be 8th and last. Sort of, it was going to be a rolling edition that was going to be updated over and over, but there wasn't going to be a 9th. At least, I think that's right. Like, people are saying that the Psychic Awakening is kind of like 8.5, like everyone's getting mini stuff. I think what they need to do, I don't know if they'll do it, is roll the rules back together in about 3 to 6 months. So it might require a full codex reissue and rerun to get them all back in one place, all the codices are up to date. But I don't know if the state of the game warrants a new edition. Never mind whether GW thinks that we need one, because it would be 3 years. If they do a new edition, that's 3 years the 8th has lasted.
Yeah.
Still lasts longer than 6. that only lasted for 2.
Yeah, 7th.
Did it? How long was 7th?
3.
About 4.
I think 7th was 3 because I remember I covered it. It was one of the first things I covered on my channel, and that was when
it was 3 or 4. It was 3 or 4.
I think it was 3 because I covered it in summer of year 12. So year 13, year 1, end of year 2. Yeah, 3 years. 3 years it lasted.
Okay, so technically the timing could be there. Or if they're saying they're not going to do an edition, what if they rolled out, say, an electronic option, a subscription-based rules book or something?
Possibly. My main thing in regards to a 9th edition announcement, if there is going to be a 9th edition at all, I doubt they'll announce it tomorrow because they haven't finished releasing all the Psychic Awakening books yet.
Correct.
And I don't think they'd announce a new edition before finish releasing them. Otherwise, no one's going to bother buying them. So why bother buying that when a new edition's going to be out in 6 months?
Well,
that's a fair point.
The counter argument to that is when they were doing Sigmar, the battle tomes before Sigmar 2 were written with Sigmar 2 in mind, so they were fully compatible and transferable. Now, for that to be true, they'd have had to have planned this from a year out of Marines 2, and all the books have been updated to get them ready for 9th, even though 9th will just be a reskin of 8th, based on that. I don't know.
I guess.
I think we'll see Psychic Awakening 10, which I think will be the Silent King's book to prevent Caesaras getting buried.
Yeah.
And I think that the end of Psychic Awakening 10 will set up the new state of play, whatever it is, with the Silent King back and whatever relationship they establish with the other major players, leading into maybe the next story segment that could be a full 8.5, maybe even a 9.
It'll be Cryptus 2.0. That's what it's going to be. Silent King's back. Okay, he's going to help the Blood Angels again because that's all they ever bloody do now.
What? They need help.
Remember when the Blood Angels didn't need help fighting people? Good old times.
Well, I mean, that's sort of the problems with the whole Primeras rollout, right? Sort of made all the other Space Marines look not so hot.
Yes and no, I guess. Because obviously there's still, a lot of things that the older Marines can do that the Primaris can't. Like, we're still waiting on Primaris bikes, for example.
Maybe that'll be an announcement then.
Maybe. But that should have been announced when they did the White Scars Codex, because that was the perfect time for them. So, hey, here's the bike chapter. Let's give them some Primaris bikes.
Yeah, but who knows how the timing for that rolls out, if they actually have the models ready to go or whatnot. Because there's new Primaris, like the Chaos ones, aren't they?
There's ones that are going to be helping Fabius Bile, supposedly, and there has been the short stories of a Primaris chapter going Renegade, but Renegade is not the same as going Chaos.
Oh, interesting.
They're basically, they've turned against, the Imperium, but doesn't necessarily mean they've embraced Chaos.
Yeah. Because...
Where does that put something like a Space Marine, though? Like, ideologically?
So it's actually something that's happened quite a lot. There are many Renegade chapters actually out there. For example, the Soul Drinkers. They were chucked out by the Imperium, but were still either loyal to the Imperium on the outside or loyal only to themselves. So the Knights of Blood were chucked out for being far too... what's a good word for too far gone down the floor to be kept... Yeah, they were far too extreme with their blood consumption to be kept around. So they were thrown out as exiled, but they were still loyal, hence when Dante asked them to come back. Actually, when Dante asked everyone else to come back, they came too. Sometimes you get chapters that think they are too superior. They don't need the Imperium, or the Imperium needs them, and they can do a better job on their own as the sort of saviors of a region. I think there's a thing called the Constantine Rebellion, or the Constantine Heresy, where that exactly happens. The rebellion of the Badarpur was a Space Marine group seceding from the Imperium to do it themselves without going chaos yet.
Yet.
Yeah, a lot of renegades that do end up going chaos out of sheer necessity, but not all.
What makes it necessary for them to go to chaos then?
Corruption, out of resources, hiding in the warp, too much exposure to the warp, agents on the inside who may have caused the secession in the first place.
So they just...
The list basically...
Gotcha, so they just eventually fall to it. Yeah.
Or they just do so out of spite.
Yeah, it could purely be that, their hatred of the Imperium is then weaponized into servitude of chaos. It could be, there's any number of things that can turn a chapter.
Okay,
that was basically what happened.
That was the voices in their head drove them so insane they had no choice. They murdered so much that to shut the voices up that they were kind of gone. Too far gone by that time. They had no choice, it felt like.
Yeah. But when they did go into the they did basically try and fight against Chaos Warbands exclusively to try and redeem themselves. Then they went, nah, fuck it, let's just worship Khorne, fuck it. Who gives a fuck?
Blood for the blood god, whatever. Murder is murder, I guess. Okay.
But when you say about the voices in their head, I like to think that it was just that they couldn't. Basically, someone plugged in a WWE music CD and it got stuck on Randy Orton's on loop for about 10,000 years. Like, no!
Seems probably reasonably effective, I suppose. So, this new Primeras then is Renegade, but more than likely will go Chaos, you think?
If it's the short story I think we're referring to, it came across as the Primaris contingent were killed to a man, because the chapter below were getting their Primaris and hadn't actually been delivered yet when they went Renegade. So they had no Primaris, and when the Primaris were butchered by the Custodians, I could be wrong. But we'll see in Psychic Awakening 8 exactly what the situation is, because Bile might have got his hands on Gene Seed and started tinkering, who knows.
I just like the memes that came out of that short story. You know, like, Magnus did nothing wrong, is no longer my best friend. Now Custodians did nothing wrong, is my best friend. Kind of thing.
Like, in that story, though, like, no one's wrong. Like, to us, the viewer, the Custodians are blatantly wrong. But contextually, neither side is wrong. So it's actually very well written in that sense.
Nice.
They both have legitimate, well, quote-unquote, legitimate points. I use the term loosely, but in terms of the Imperium, they are legitimate.
Yes.
That's the thing.
As external observers, our sense of morality and right-wrong is very different to the Imperium's.
Yeah. You have to justify a lot. I mean, there's a lot of, justifiable fascism in the 41st millennium. It's like, well, we could let you be free, but, then the warp might open up and swallow a whole planet, so you want to take that risk?
So we could let you be free,
but we're just going
to just nuke your world out of existence because someone didn't say the right prayer.
Well, yeah, it seems so... It's one of the stressful things about all of the 40k lore, honestly. It's like, what is it we're fighting for? Where are the nice planets? Where are the things where, like, nice things happen? It's like, I guess they exist, but they're sort of outside of the reach of the Imperium. Because if they are in the reach of it, then you're probably involved in war, in which case you're basically just a wartime planet. Mining planet. I've heard rumor of these pleasure planets, but I don't know that those are necessarily wholesome. But everybody just seems miserable.
In answer to what are they fighting for? Survival, basically.
Exactly.
That's all you have in 40k. Is your species surviving? Good, you're doing well. Doesn't matter what you do, as long as your species survives.
Right. Plus some, like, pro wrestler level heroic stories of certain solos.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. And then you got the Tau who are just naive saying, wow, everyone out here is so mean.
Oh yeah, those poor Tau.
And then you got the Force Sphere who are just like, fuck it, kill everyone. It's their fault, kill everyone.
It's a mess.
Because the other races had the audacity to create a god in the image of the Tau, and they were like, what? No, we don't want this. So they started committing genocide.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in 40K.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see that translate to the TV show. I mean, Eisenhorn's still slated to happen, right?
Yeah, I don't think we've actually heard any updates in regards to that yet, though. I don't even know if it's actually being shot yet or not.
No, last news on that was it's in pre-production. It hasn't even been cast yet because a bunch of people wanted Mark Strong to play the main character for that, which would be amazing. But I mean, I don't think
he would be the perfect choice.
It would, right?
Yeah.
So
even if you just use his voice and dub him over someone else.
Yeah, that could work. But I mean, he's got a good look too. He totally could fit, a 40K aesthetic really easy.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's been a whole lot of movement on that necessarily, but I don't know how involved GW is on that either. I don't think that would be, say, part of any of their announcements, for example.
I mean, for all we know, they might make an announcement regarding it tomorrow.
That would be amazing. I'd be really curious, because their cartoon, I think, is done all right.
Yeah, the trailers for the Hammer and Bolter?
I cannot remember.
The trailers do look promising, even though there is some jankiness to the animation, but you can always chalk up to just being early stage.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with the Angels of Death series, though.
It is called Hammer and Bolter. Yeah, the Angels in Death, is that an animated one then?
Yeah, CGI animated one, yeah. It's done by the guy who did, the Hell's Reach YouTube videos?
I do.
It's partly him and partly another guy who did a short movie on YouTube called The Fortress Monastery, which was fully 3D, which a lot of people seem to have completely missed, which is a shame because it's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
It's one that came out a few years ago. Shame, more people should see it because it is actually really good. But yeah, you got some proper talent working on it, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. So what is that short called? I want to know for my record. Fortress or something?
Fortress Monastery.
Fortress Monastery. All right, I'm going to look that one up after this. Yeah, no, there's a lot of pretty cool 40K shorts and videos, but not all of them really go viral the way Richard Boylan's did, and Hell's Reach, and Guardsman, and such.
Yeah. There was that German one that came out a few years ago. I think it's called Damnatus. Like basically a bunch of guardsmen stuck on a ship in the warp. It's like all in German, but subtitled, so...
Nice.
In fact, the German language actually works really well for 40K in a lot of places, so that's not a bad thing.
Yes. No, that's true. Oh, man, I'm trying to remember the name of it. There's a Russian comic of 40K as well that seems like it's a soap opera about a female commissar who likes some subordinate officer and is competing against like a robot chick. It's really, really weird, and I've not been able to find a watchable version of it, but because apparently they made like a short film of that too.
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm sure it can't be as weird as that Japanese manga that's supposedly around, like the screenshots of it, but I've not actually seen an actual copy of it. But it's like, supposedly a Japanese manga of an immolator that's also a little girl.
Oh, creepy.
It's like, that's Japan.
Yeah, that is true. Oh my gosh.
I mean, they have their boat girls, so it wouldn't surprise me they have their tank girls. But anyway.
Yeah, have you not seen Panzermädels?
No, I haven't.
It's a video game, not an anime, but it is a dating sim involving tank girls, I believe. I've seen a clip of it somewhere. It's
a lot of that Hatsufu boyfriend, where that dating sim where you date pigeons, but with tanks.
Yes, but tank girls.
Yes.
Right. Okay, moving swiftly along.
Moving on exceptionally swiftly because, well, I'll be completely honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. I'm having absolutely terrible audio issues. That's why I've been so quiet. I've been rebooting everything in my flat, and I can't get anything to work.
So Remleiz and I are just going down some weird rabbit holes here. It's called Commissar Raivel, Raivel, and yes, it's just a weird soap opera, as far as I can tell. But it's a whole comic. Like, I don't know if it's sanctioned by GW or if in Russia
Probably
they just
not.
don't care.
No.
They just don't have a choice. But yeah, it's
It's got as much chance of being sanctioned by GW as that Japanese comic about the Immolator girl has.
I don't know. Not saying anything is kind of saying something to GW. Just saying.
If GW start getting on top of people for IPs, then Rem and I are doomed.
That being said about Japanese stories, though, there was a Japanese exclusive novel that was available on their version of Amazon. It was supposedly based on the Space Marine Heroes model line, because obviously those were originally Japan exclusive, weren't they? Those models.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me they actually have their own exclusive tie-in fiction there. Trying to find it. Hang on. Space Marine Heroes Japan novel. Oh, because there was a picture of it. I'm just trying to find it. Because obviously you got the 2 novellas that were available on Black Library directly. Oh god, where is it? I had it a while ago. Hang on, Amazon.co.jp, that's the Japanese one, isn't it?
I wouldn't even know, I'm afraid.
Yes, it is.
I've never ordered from that, so. Nope. Tidewell Gunring. So I'm just going through these items of, I guess the figure case is one of the things going up in price, too. A lot of terrain pieces.
Yeah. And paintbrushes, too, as well.
I don't know. Do most people, you suppose, use official GW paintbrushes? It seems like there's a lot of good competition out there for the paintbrushes.
I do use Citadel, but I've gone through, I think, 2 or 3 of some of them just this year. I think I'm onto my second set of brushes this year. Not that I bought new when I arrived, but I've certainly had to do a full replacement of everything apart from my dry brush, because that's super durable. I've had to replace everything.
Well, yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, so I mean, so people may, if they're annoyed enough at the price hike, may go elsewhere for those accessories. Really, it's going to be those specific models you want, those specific solos you want, and most likely the special terrain pieces as well, like the Tidewall shield line.
I mean the Tidewall's rubbish, so no one plays it. The ones that I think are gonna sting are the core units. Things the interesting ones are things like the endless spells and the data cards, and upgrade
data
kits.
cards are gonna
because
suck.
Data cards are great, but if you put the price up, endless spells, some armies literally can't work without them in AOS. So you put them up, and upgrade sprues, things like Space Wolf upgrades, Blood Angels upgrades. You start messing with those, people are less inclined to take them. And then, of course, you have got actual proper terrain things like the Storm Vaults, but I think that matters less than the actual things that people use in gameplay 95% of the time, I suppose.
Yeah, I think most of the time people are using actual models or vehicles and that sort of thing. Because even like the terrain containers, for example, there's a lot of off-brand stuff you can get there too. But you're less likely to find a really cool off-brand Eversur Assassin or the other models. So, I don't know. I'm just glad. I'm glad they didn't increase the price too much on the painting handles. I have found those to be dead useful.
Can imagine. I've not actually bought one, but I can imagine.
Oh, I love it. Especially if you're inclined to drop your models as much as I am. Oh, what'd you buy?
That Japanese exclusive Warhammer novel. It's called, I think it's called Bloodright. If I can read it over underneath the katakana. And I'll just show a screenshot of the actual cover.
Oh, man.
And it's so anime, it hurts.
Yeah, that is not as anime as I thought it would be, but it's interesting. It's like, I wonder what 40K culturally feels like out in a place like Japan, because there's a slightly different impressions.
I know model kits are very popular in Japan, so that's probably part of the reason why they get so many exclusive models. Because, model kits are just very popular.
Warhammer, obviously in the UK, is it's almost a rite of passage that every teenager either plays or knows someone who plays and collects it. I think you could ask, if people have asked me before, so I do YouTube. Oh, what's it about? Just something you probably never heard of it. Try me. Have you heard of the thing called Warhammer? And it's like, oh, yeah, I knew someone at school who played that. Or, oh, yeah, I've had a few of those when I was younger. It's like, everyone in Britain seems to have heard of it, at least.
Well, it helps that it has such a strong video game presence as well.
There's people who are in their 30s and 40s who remember it, when they were at school.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, as I think Total Biscuit put it best when he said that Warhammer is the most British and metal thing that's ever been created. But yeah, I translated the plot synopsis of this Japanese book. Bear in mind, it's literal translation from Google Translate, so get prepared for potential English lols. But yeah, synopsis. The Blood Angel Squadron is known for its unparalleled nobility and fierce fighting among the Space Marine squadrons that protect the Empire of mankind. However, because of the scars engraved in the gene, he is still constantly exposed to the insatiable thirst for bloodshed. Donato, the captain of 1st Squadron Archangel, heads to retreat of the cathedral with the help of a few elite killers. Once a reverent place of worship, it was now desecrated by chaotic worshippers. The chief who leads the heretics is none other than the Dark Apostle, Zarak, who has a deep relationship with Donato, who will be shed it will clear soon. Google Translate, everyone. There we go.
I mean,
you did a really good job.
Yeah, obviously, when you've got to contextualize things using squadron instead of chapter, chapter doesn't mean anything, literally, so that's fair enough. And as a plot, reading it is Blood Angels, noble, fierce.
Oh, wait. The book is actually available on Black Library. It's actually one by Rachel Harrison.
Well, better get reading.
We just made ourselves look very stupid for the past 5 minutes, didn't we?
I just remember that the cover from ages ago, and it's this was before the book on Black Library was ever revealed. So it was one of those things that was leaked first, but it has such completely different cover art.
It's not that different.
And not just for the fact,
it's not that different. It's still 40k. It's 40k artwork. I would never say anything.
Yeah, but it's still different. It's different artwork.
It's a different artwork from the English. Sorry, I thought you meant that the artwork didn't look normal. Sorry.
No. It's the cover art is completely different. On the Japanese version, you got the entire Blood Angel squad with a big cathedral in the background, and on the English version, you just got one Blood Angel with a banner. That's it.
He does look more angry, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's clearly a more realistic style, but it lacks the dynamism of the Japanese version. I feel.
I agree.
The Japanese version very much. It might just be the green, but it makes me think it should have Necrons in it because it reminds me of the Damnos cover art, where green is such a Necron associated.
We don't talk about Damnos.
I'm not saying Damnos is good. I never said it was good. I just said that green sky background color scheme makes me think Necrons. It just does. Whereas that very orange, blasty cover art that we've got for the English version feels like they could be fighting anyone.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah. But that's just a color temperature change. You could just make it more yellow on the other one, I guess.
They should have kept the original artwork.
Actually, while we're on Black Library, there was a novel that was revealed in the last couple of weeks, and I'd like a minute.
Oh, you said the one about the cows?
The Lumineth novel. It's not...
Yeah.
No, it's about the warriors who wear cows on their heads. It's different. So, yes, there is a Lumineth Realm Lords novel that is coming up. Its name has gone out of my head. Give me a moment. It's called, Realm Lords, actually. It's by Dale Lucas. It's got some absolutely lovely cover art showing the Realm of Light for, I think, the first time ever outside a rulebook. And it actually comes with a short extract as well, showing how the Lumineth fight against the forces of Slanesh. And yeah, I when it comes out, I want it. Yes, please give it to me now, because yes.
Oh. Speaking of Black Library, one thing that actually is quite interesting is not what's on Black Library, what's been taken away from it. Eagle-eyed people would have actually noticed that in recent weeks, the Dark Imperium books are no longer available on Black Library. I'm not talking about physical copies, because physical copies run out all the time. You can't get the ebook or audiobook from Black Library's site anymore. If you type in Dark Imperium in the search engine, it doesn't come up with anything.
So, I saw the speculation about this, and the sort of running theory seems to be omnibus.
If I had to guess, that's what I would say. Like, they're just collecting it all in an omnibus, like what they did with the Goto Dawn of War novels, because you can't get them all separately, you can only get them in the omnibus.
And maybe the Ragnar Blackmane novels too, same thing. Because I don't think you can get the Ragnar novels separately anymore, though I'm willing to be corrected, there's that many of them.
It seems a bit weird to have an omnibus that's just 2 books.
That was literally what I was going to say, yeah. Like, are there any shorts that they could put in around it?
The only short I can think of they could think of was the Armour of Fate short, but you can still get that separately on Black Library. Which is weird.
I mean, sometimes when they do omnibuses, they do add in exclusive shorts into them, but
sometimes they do, yeah, that's true.
We shall see.
It might be with the Sisters of Battle one, because Sisters of Battle one was only 2 novels, wasn't it? But they had the exclusive novella, didn't they?
Something like that. I think the problem is, like, what would you do as the 3rd one? Because I forget exactly where Plague Wars ends, but the Plague Wars have they been won?
It ended with
by
Mortarion running off. It ended up with Mortarion running off and saying, "We will meet again in the next book."
Yeah, okay, so Mortarion's legged it. Right, so in essence, they'd have to create a brand new plot line for Guilliman to follow, or they'd have to follow Guilliman on his just jauntily hop home back to Terra and then do a book about admin, which I don't think Guy Haley's most suited to. He's better suited to combat.
I mean, they could always do a love story about him and Nivrain. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, but you have to get Gav Thorpe to write that.
Wow.
Because he's the one who apparently made it canon 65 episodes ago.
Yeah.
Do they ever take stuff out to retcon it, or do you think there's a risk there at all?
There was a running joke, and I think that GW ran with it because they did their Thanksgiving image of 2017. Their Thanksgiving image was Guilliman and Ivrain serving Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, yeah.
So GW ran with the meme, and we had Gav on the show pretty much straight after, and Alexis was like, "So is it canon now?" And Gav was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And so. Because Gav was obviously writing the Inari books.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, to be fair.
No. Right, that's how they'll do it then, isn't it? The 3rd Inari book is a crossover piece between Guy Haley and Gav. Oh, no, don't do it. No! Stop it!
Hey, man, they need to reach across the aisle and expand their audience some more. So, I mean, it's happening. You're going to see, like, the Twilight books on 40K soon.
I mean, we've got Warhammer Horror. We've got Warhammer Adventures for the kids. We're getting Warhammer Crime, Warhammer Romance. That's next step.
Yeah, but not between, like, the 2 heads of factions of different species. I don't disagree. You could get some very interesting romance plot lines out of 40K. You can. It could be very interesting, especially if you play with the dark side of, like, corruption by chaos or Xenos infiltrators or assassins. You can really, and polymorphine. You can really do some cool stuff there. I don't disagree. Where I disagree...
Sorry, I just had this mental image, like, because, you know how they rebranded the old Vampire Genevieve books as Warhammer Horror?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just realised they'll just rebrand the Inquisition War trilogy as Warhammer Romance.
It's happening. You guys need to start preparing for the TV show, is what I'm saying right now.
Eisenhorn already exists.
No, the romance one, obviously. Gosh.
Ian Watson's Inquisitor.
Yeah, there's not going to be a romance with an Inquisitor.
The day that 40K makes a Saturday morning rom-com series is just the day that everything stops working. Everything just stops working.
A Saturday morning cartoon isn't outside the realm of possibility. Remember,
Saturday morning cartoon with adventures.
Yeah.
Saturday. What I meant was, I started saying one thing but meant another. I meant like rolling rom-com film / series thing. That's what I meant. I don't know where Saturday morning cartoon came from.
We need to get the teenagers in it, man.
The teenagers are drawn to Warhammer not because of the sap, they're drawn because of the sheer edge. Like, people come to Warhammer for edge and ultraviolence at that age.
I know. How about a Necromunda TV show, but in the style of Friends, and instead of 6 friends, it's like a member of each house.
I'm not gonna lie, I would watch that. I mean, just
wasn't there that I saw? There was a piece on DeviantArt. I was looking for thumbnails of Big Brother, but 40k with people from different species having to all live together. It was an artwork piece of the intro sequence. So. GW, please do not. I know we give you fabulous advice all the time about what to do, GW, but for once, please don't listen to us.
I mean, I know someone made a meme of the Primarks as the characters from Friends. You have Lehman Ross and Alphebius, or whatever. Yeah, it's.
I mean, and that's great.
I can't remember. That's
great for a meme, right? But I mean, unless it's a specific parody. Oh, yeah. I mean, I agree. It's ridiculous. It's just when you look at stuff get broadened out more and more to a greater audience, you tend to see a dilution, let's say, of the soul of it. You can
also,
see that.
If GW embrace every meme, what's Alpha going to have left to do? Because if GW embrace all of the memes and go and do all of the things, then what's left for Alpha?
I mean, he'll just have to start playing things really straight.
I can't imagine TTS Emperor playing the straight guy. I can't. No, I refuse.
I mean, you gotta change gears somehow, right? But I don't know. This is neither here nor there. Eisenhorn will hopefully be good, despite what we have been talking about.
Yes.
Gosh, what else do you think is going to happen? I mean, do you think this announcement's going to be a whole bunch of things, or just sort of a handful of things? And they're like, "Thanks for making a big deal about this, guys. We really just wanted everybody to tune in."
I mean,
probably something to do with Space Marines.
I think. The Silent King is a big enough deal that I don't think it's going to be an underwhelming show, whatever they do. I know the first preview they dropped the Battle Cattle and the Lion and other stuff all at once. And preview 3 they had Caesaras and the Sons of Behemat at once. But I really think all they need is the Silent King and one other piece of big either model or information, either a few updates to a range, a new book that isn't just Psychic Awakening 10, or just a major update somewhere will be enough for it to be considered a substantial show. If it's just the Silent King for an hour, then that's a waste of time.
What if it was so say they're not doing 9th edition, but they're just consolidating all the rules. I mean, I know people had talked about the 8.5. I guess they'd still wait until all the Psychic Awakening stuff was released before they would do that? Or do you think they would consolidate all the core rules?
Yeah, I think the main thing that GW need to do right now, and I don't think they'll do it, is Codices, Vigilus, all the FAQs, Psychic Awakening, and Chapter Approved and the rulebook all need to be recondensed. So the rulebook needs all the Chapter Approved missions putting in it, and all the Chapter Approved mission types, whatever else putting into it. You can keep Apocalypse and all that stuff as standalone, that's fine. Their expansions are different rule sets, leave that out. The Codices need their Vigilus detachments adding in. They need their Psychic Awakening relics and traits adding in. They need their Chapter Approved points adding in. And at that point, we're back to 2 books to play, not 5. Because rules bloat is a problem right now, and I don't even play.
That's actually even a frustration if you play even Kill Team, because there's so many books now for that. Oh
god, yeah, Commanders, Elites.
So I mean, it gets just physically heavy. But it would be nice if they condensed it. But I don't know if that would be enough to warrant a full be part of a major announcement either.
I think the only reason they do that, I think the other thing to wait for is the Forge World rewrite.
Like an update to Imperial Armor?
Yeah, so back at LVO, I think it was, they announced that the Forge World indices that they'd written at the start of 8, those sort of tied over rules for the Forge World miniatures, were getting rewritten by the 40k team. I remember them announcing that back in January. Actually, I remember I was looking through something on my old video about it, and I saw it. So I know they're rewriting the Forge World indices, and those rules can then be re-released as a new set of books to update the Forge World units. And at that point, when they've done Psychic Awakening and all the main armies are up to date, they've done the Forge World books, and Forge World are up to date. They've just done their last FAQ and Balance Pass, so that's all up to date. Right, now we can actually do something to the core rules.
9th edition.
It might even need to be a 9th edition, because I mean the era of post-Psychic Awakening is essentially 8.5, because we're in the era of what I term the 2.0 codex, because, well, every codex has had a major pass between its points and its side rules. The only thing that hasn't changed is the data sheets for most factions.
Right.
So I feel like we're about to enter the age of 8.5. I don't feel like, at least until Forge World, Psychic Awakening, whatever they're doing with the Silent King, chapter approved, the FAQs, and getting through all catch up from lockdown, and all of their ducks are in a row, can they even look at 9th? Because they've then got to test all these new rules, because from Psychic Awakening 5 onwards, none of these rules have been meta tested yet. They've been beta tested by the in-house team, but they've not been put through their paces in the meta. No one knows how good Gazkul is yet, because he's not gone to a major tourney. So I think all the rules need to be meta checked and tournament run for at least 6 months and balance passed before they're even ready to start updating anything.
I guess that could be a little tough right now. I mean, I don't know where ITC even is for 2020.
I'm sorry, I didn't get most of that.
Oh, I said, I guess it'll be really hard to get any of the tournaments recorded, or any tournaments at all going on this year for 2020. So that's probably going to delay that, let's say.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, Psychic Awakening, in terms of the physical release, was knocked back by, well, okay, Psychic Awakening 6 has kind of got itself out the gate. Psychic Awakening 7 was supposed to be April, and that's going to hit the shelves. I expect that will be the pre-order for the 30th of May that they've announced. And that means that Psychic Awakening is now running 2 months behind, at least 6 weeks behind schedule. Just Psychic Awakening.
Do you think they'll just continue with the release, even if the rules aren't meta-tested?
I feel like I don't know, because 2 years ago I'd have said, yes, absolutely, they don't care. But I feel like it depends on what they want to do with the core rules. If it's a major rewrite that upends everything, then they won't need to bother. If it's a slight tweaking of the rules to bring everything together, kind of like AOS 2 was, with a few new mechanics and a bit of rebalancing to some broken stuff, then they'll want to make sure that the edition is ready and that the meta is ready for that, so that they don't have to drop the books, drop the new rules, then emergency patch the old stuff because it's suddenly ridiculous / underpowered as sin. So they'd rather get all of the meta in a row, then they could balance the new version around that. I don't know. I'd prefer them to wait, but do I trust them to wait? No, not 100%.
Fair enough. 50-50 then, right?
Yeah, this assumes they want to do a new edition at all. I know that that's the talk that goes around, but this assumes that that's what they want to do. Because we've kind of become almost indoctrinated into the idea of this 3-year cycle. Okay, right, time's up, start counting down to the new edition. Oh, there's a new edition just come out. Right, how long is this going to last?
Well, if it was third
4th edition
about
lasted
7 years.
4, 5th edition lasted 4 or 5.
4.
I feel like
Fifth lasted a long time.
Fifth lasted for, it felt like Fifth lasted for ages because it was what I grew up with. But with the 6th and 7th and 8th and AOS 1 and AOS 2, and even Fantasy 8th, we've got into this mindset now of, okay, in a few years, everything is going to be wiped clean and we're going to need a new start. But bear in mind, the Space Marine Codex was only done a year ago. Less than a year ago. I don't think they're going to want to upend the rules and release 3 Space Marine Codices in the space of 3 years. I think that's, even by GW standards, a bit much.
Fair enough.
And the funny thing is that everyone seems to have forgotten that the Chaos Space Marine Codex also got re-released as well, but everyone just forgot that one.
Yeah, it got re-released, then Space Marines got redone, and Chaos was suddenly rubbish again, and had to be emergency patched in Psychic Awakening 2, and is still probably not that good.
Unless they give it another boost tomorrow.
Who knows, but it probably will end up being more Imperial stuff, because it pretty much always is.
Dark Mechanicum, please.
We might actually get like Imperial Agents or something as well. I mean, with some of the quotes I've been going around, I've seen a lot of people saying that it might be Inquisition, it might be, a Black Templars Codex, that some people are saying as well.
I mean, a Black Templars supplement, I was surprised, I was surprised and not surprised when the Black Templars didn't get a supplement. But bear in mind, the Black Templars have also not had a Index Astartes White Dwarf article that the Crimson Fists and some others did. So there's definitely scope for a Black... Actually, were the Black Templars in the Imperial Fist supplement? I don't know. They might have been.
I don't think they were.
Room for a Black Templars book.
The Crimson Fists were, but I don't think the Black Templars were.
Yeah, because the Crimson Fists were also in January's White Dwarf as an index onto themselves. The Templars have never had that treatment. And whilst the younger of our audience may not know this because it's now been so damn long, it's been over 6 years, Black Templars were a standalone codex all the way up to 6th edition, and then you got rather embarrassingly rolled into Space Marines and buried.
Yep.
Yeah, they always seemed like kind of a cool chapter, too.
I mean, people who remember even further back, when they used to show the same codex with the Salamanders.
Oh, yeah.
Back in Codex Armageddon, where you had Black Templars Army List, Salamanders Army List, Armageddon Steel Legion, and Orc Speed Freaks. Those were the days.
That's a book worth buying.
And the best thing about that book was as well, its retail price was only £4. Because it was a supplement.
Now adjust that for inflation.
Still cheaper than what you pay for a codex these days.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, man.
In fact, so the codices we're getting these days, they're not actually, as bad as some of the older ones. Like between third and fifth, the codices were pretty bare bones in regards to background and stuff. Like they couldn't compare to 2nd edition in terms of the amount of information you actually got.
Yeah, I remember hearing that around 3rd edition, just codices were gutted of lore.
They were gutted. But at the same time, they compensate for that by making them much cheaper as well. So,
yeah. And you've also got to bear in mind that codices in the 5th edition era backwards were full paperback, and they were nice. It was nice paper, but the 6th ed codices onwards were full hardback, proper fancy paper, full colour as well. That was another major change, is that the lore and drawing sections went full colour. So I know why the cost of codices went up, but I feel like there was a point in 6th edition especially, because 6th edition was just the worst, when codices were at their most expensive, but they hadn't got the value for rules in them yet. And to the person who about 3 episodes, in one of my Psychic Awakening videos actually, had a yell at me for saying that the Psychic Awakening books were good value for rules, was Grateful Slave Talk, because I'm okay to pay for rules. Yes, I am okay to pay for rules. Yes, I am. I'm fine with that. I know it kind of might suck, but I am okay to pay for the rules, because you've got to pay the people who write the bloody thing. But I think in 6th edition, the rules were still kind of bare bones compared to 7th, where it went bananas, and 8th, where they've actually got their heads screwed on, and then Psychic Awakening, where they've gone bananas again. So there's actually a reasonable value for rules in them now, as well as having the depth of lore that at least, maybe not be as good as 2nd edition, I don't know, because I've not read a 2nd Ed book, but might compete with 2nd Ed for lore value as well.
Not read a 2nd edition book, I am disappointed. I mean, in fairness, the 2nd edition books were good because not only did you have all this immense background lore, which some of it has not even been reprinted since, and that's not making it non-canon by omission because that doesn't happen. It's just that they just had so much lore that they had to cut some out just to streamline it. And they also added a crap ton of short stories and stuff in them as well. I know some of the codices will have 1 or 2, but some of the 2nd ed ones you have about 5 or 6 short stories bitten.
Oh wow.
I mean, in the Chaos Codex back in 2nd edition, you had 3 entire army lists in that book. You had Chaos Space Marines, Chaos Cultists, and Demon World armies. Yeah, so you had, and that was only about £15, which is, pretty damn good value for money. You're paying £5 for an army, basically, in that case.
Yeah, it is. It's really good value. And I'm not going to sit here and say that the Modern Codex is at a good price point right now. But when you adjust for inflation, the extra art time, the extra rule writing, and the fact that we as a fan base have got so picky about the lore that they dare not make a single mistake, and then you add inflation on top, I know why they cost what they do, even if I still think it's a bit much. Ideally, I think a codex in the modern era would probably sit at no more than 25 quid, and they currently sit at 30 plus.
I'm still salty about the fact that the Custodian Codex is more expensive than the Harlequin Codex when it's...
You've not stopped complaining about the Custodian Codex since it came out, and I remember when that was.
Because it's justified.
It was January 2018. I was literally sat in Grenoble Airport when they announced it. So it was...
Do you know what's also even more stupid than the Custodian one? The Chaos Knights one. That's even smaller. And just as expensive.
I forgot that was even a thing. I thought they just got a set of White Dwarf rules or something. I completely forgot that was a thing there.
It's a full-blown £25 codex for 50 pages when the Harlequin one was 20 and had 70 pages.
Well, it's just what people are willing to pay for it, though,
I know the Knight models are more expensive, but you can't justify paying more for a codex when you have less of it. I mean, if it was only 5-10 pages smaller than the standard size codex, fair enough. I mean, I understand why the Space Marine Codex is so much more expensive than the other codices, because it's also about the size of the same fucking rulebook.
Well, yeah, you've got that many models. Oh, I was just, I guess, comparing the number of models, because I'm assuming the Chaos Knights just do not have the number of models to compare, right? But if it's supposed to be just as competitive as another Space Marines Codex, I guess they maybe justify it that way.
They've got the same amount of models as, the Imperial Knights Codex, but the Imperial Knights Codex is also bigger than the Chaos Knights Codex. Somehow.
Okay,
It's like with the Chaos Knight Codex, they just couldn't be bothered.
So...
The only thing interesting in that codex is that there is a Chaos Knight that's covered in the flesh of the people it's slain, and it's being worshipped by a bunch of Necron Flayers.
Which is cool.
Because they think, yeah, it's cool, that's cool, yeah, but nothing else in that book's worth mentioning, to be honest.
Well, I've got my Tau Codex in front of me. It's 136 pages, of which 49 are rules. Just for...
So about a third of it.
In terms of actual what you consider dead paper, the showcase section, which I consider to be just dead paper, there's only 14 pages of that. So there's actually about 70-ish pages of lore in here, plus 50 pages of rules, give or take. And that's for
Which is pretty good. I think that's a fair amount of each, to be honest. I think that's a nice balance.
Yeah, that's a significant amount that you get for... What do you pay for it? 35?
I think this was when it... I have to double check what it was because I haven't got the label on the corner anymore.
I think it'd be 20. I think it was 25.
Yeah.
It's either 25... It might be, I think, somewhere between 25 and 30, I think is where it sits. It might be 30.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
I don't think it's fair because the Space Marine one's 30 and that's like twice as thick.
Space Marines book isn't 270 pages, is it?
I think it is. It's about half... It's close to the size of the actual 8th edition.
Right, I'm looking this up now. Excuse me for 2 minutes. I'm going to look up just how big that book is.
But Space Marines are also the most popular, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I have to see what my sister's codex, how thick that one is, but it's downstairs, so...
I love how on GW's website everything's got its fancy name except Space Marines. They're not called the bloody Adeptus Astartes. They're still called Space Marines.
The first version of the 8th edition codex was 208 pages.
Well, the current version is 192 pages and £25.
Ah, so it's actually smaller.
It's got 76 data sheets in it. So 76 of its 192 pages are those types of rules, and then you've got all the other rules that go with it. So I'm guessing they probably skimped. Bear in mind that there's 76 data sheets, and every unit gets a bestiary entry. Now, I can only speak for the Tau here, but most get...
Oh, I'll tell you what they would have cut down on. They would have cut down on some of the chapter segments, because, like, in the first version of the 8th edition codex, like, the Black Templars had, like, about 6 pages or so dedicated just to them, like, lore-wise, and I don't think they got that as much.
Well, it helps,
8th
because the
edition codex.
supplements are 80 pages at £17.50 with 12 data sheets. So all the lore can be dumped in the supplements. So if you get a codex and its supplement for your army, it's £42.50 for 272 pages, of which 88 are data sheets, and about the same again is bestiary.
Jeez.
I keep forgetting how big the second version of the 8th edition codex is, because mine's still sitting in that massive box.
Well, you got the collector's edition, didn't you? So yours is going to be massive by default.
Yeah. Just sitting there in his box, with the certificate signed by Rabute Gilliman himself. It's like, here is your term for establishing your own chapter. It's like, great.
Well, it looks like we're paying about $40 for codexes over here. Sisters is 112 pages with 27 data sheets for $40. So, you know, we are...
Out of curiosity, how much is the Harlequin Codex over there?
Let's take a look. 35. With 9 data sheets.
And how many pages is that?
How many pages?
80.
Yep, 80 pages. Wow. But it's hardback.
That's a supplement.
Yeah.
That's literally the same amount as a supplement.
Yeah. $35. Whatever. I think we pay more for our models generally here too, though.
I've got a person in my Discord server who's from New Zealand, and I've had to stop them telling me what things cost when they come out because they get stiffed.
Yes.
Royally.
Australia and New Zealand both. Yeah, they have a import tax that's about the same amount as the model or whatever it is they're receiving. It's insane.
I feel sorry for the Australians because you can't have a Megatron toy over there without joining a Firearms Collectors Club, apparently.
Huh. Well, that seems weird.
Because it's classified as a, quote, realistic firearm replica. A toy robot is a realistic firearm replica. Poor Australia.
Poor Australia.
They suffer enough of all the spiders. Give them a break, please.
Does your Space Marine toy come with weapons?
It comes with a bolt rifle and a knife.
Oh, okay.
And 6 hands.
Well, I guess one for holding the different holdings of the hand, maybe?
Yeah. You got like 2 closed fists, 2 open palms, and 2 trigger fingers.
Okay, there you go. So the punching and the shooting, and I guess the pushing?
Yes. Or the high-fiving if you got to.
Yeah, if you're high-fiving if you've got two of them, that's for sure.
I'm just waiting for the stop motion now.
I just found it funny what Oculus shared on Twitter the other day with like the very shy-looking spaceman pointing his trigger finger.
Yeah, that was funny.
He said, "Looks so damn shy, bless him."
Here's something that happened this week. We got confirmation, just as an aside, that the old world is getting Kislevite bear cavalry back.
Nice.
Bear cavalry,
Might just be me that cares.
The Russian bear cavalry is ready to serve.
Oh, sure. Why not? I mean, isn't there wolf cavalry now, too? I mean, that's been a thing. Everything but horses.
I mean, for fantasy...
Well, there's bound to be horses in... There's bound to be horses in...
Yeah, like in fantasy you had wolf riders, squig riders, spider riders, these Kislevite dinosaur riders, dinosaurs riding dinosaurs. The
best thing was, though, back in 5th edition, from the Citadel Journal, you could actually order a halfling army where you could actually have goat cavalry, like they're actually halflings riding goats.
Sounds about right.
Or you can have them mounted on swans for aerial assault.
Now that's just silly. That's clearly too far.
Yeah. I mean, is it as silly as the squirrel with a tree man mount?
Well, swans are very awful. I feel like squirrels are more friendly. I just don't believe that a swan would let you get near them because they want to bite you all the time. If you ever had to deal with a swan, they're basically one of the worst animals ever. But do you think there's any chance they'll bring the Bretonnians back?
I'm not sure because it seems, from what seems to be going round, it seems to be focusing pretty much exclusively on the Empire.
Yeah.
Like the War of the Three Emperors, whatever it was called.
There was the War of the Three Emperors, which was probably just a rip-off of Romance of the Three Kingdoms, now that I think about it.
It's basically going to be Warhammer Fantasy Horus Heresy, isn't it?
The Horus Heresy was obviously very different, where someone turned on the Emperor. I meant in regards to, like, it's just going to be, it's just going to be Empire and Empire and Empire, just like in Horus Heresy, it's just Space Marines. Sorry.
Space Marine.
I think
maybe the odd Mechanicum.
It could be all human, but that doesn't mean that it has to be all Empire. Because bear in mind, Bretonnia's right there. We've already got confirmation that Kislev is there, so you could have Cathay. You could have.
Isn't Kislev part of the Empire though, or aligned to it?
I don't know my lore well enough, but Kislev definitely didn't have an elector count when the Empire was formed. They might have been allied.
I mean, you could have the if they do keep them separate, then you could have the
Tylea, Cathay, Bretonnia, Kislev, and then obviously you've got the armies of Altdorf, Talabheim, Nuln. All the different cities will be represented. You've also got the option of Sylvania.
Okay.
I mean, Sylvania was part of the Empire, technically.
Yeah. And it would allow you to keep the skeletons and the vampires in the game. And you can obviously also have beastmen, because the Empire still has forests and needs someone to smash. So there's plenty they can do even without leaving the old world. Without elves, without the new world of Lustria. And
you still got elves. You got wood elves, haven't you? Because they live in Athel Loren.
They do live in Athel Loren, but Athel Loren's not that close to the main empire. It's not.
It's next door to Bretonnia.
It's close, but you have the high and dark elves. You don't need the lizardmen. You don't need the Skaven to still have a very diverse game. They can still do it.
Poor lizardmen, though. Rip.
Yeah.
At least they survived the transition. There's a lot that didn't.
Yeah. That's true. Or just changed completely.
Grise and Bretonnia, either way.
Well, the announcements, though, do you think it's going to stick specifically with 40k, or will cover a range of...
It's called the Warhammer 40,000 preview, so unless they're showing something for 30k on the sly, I'm inclined to expect it's all 40k from here.
Okay.
Codex squats. Come on, let's have Codex squats. Come on.
That was a possibility. I remember there was a thing a while ago. Didn't they come out with like a... Was it like a board game or just some small supplemental thing that had squats where they acknowledged him?
Necromunda. You got 2 squat models available for Necromunda. One is a bounty hunter and one is an ammo jack.
There you go.
I mean, we could actually see some rules for the specialists in 40k, like Aeronautica, Titanicus, and stuff. They could sneak that in because that is technically Warhammer 40,000, just not the base game. I suppose they could do that.
Maybe.
Anyway, obviously everyone in the comments will be yelling at us with the actual answers by now because
I
we
know.
are plebs of the past.
Basically, it's like, we're out of date the second it comes out. Sorry, you guys. Let's see what we got right. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Will have got... I think the only real question... I'm mostly interested in what's the Silent King going to look like, how does he fit into the Necrons plot-wise, not rules-wise, plot-wise, and then are they going to mess with the rules? Everything else is sort of, if I see something cool, then cool, I get to talk about it, but I'm not like harking for, oh, show me something for Necromunda. Oh, show me something for Titanicus. Oh, can I have X, Y, and Z? I want to see A, B, and C. It's purely, I'm curious about the Silent King, and I'm curious, anxious about the main rules. That's kind of it. That's where I'm at.
Can I have cheeseburger?
What?
That's an outdated reference, isn't it?
That is.
He's like, can I has?
Yes, but I think we all get that reference still.
Nope.
Early memes.
The early memes were the good old days.
Maybe I just couldn't hear it properly, but I didn't get it at all.
Like, all your base are belong to us? No?
I've heard the phrase, and I know it's a meme, but...
It was one of the first.
I'm sure it was. God, can you imagine, like, if like old school 40k lived in the age of meme? Oh, God.
I mean, we would have had a lot of material to work with. I mean, the early GW stuff is silly. I mean, it is. It does not take itself seriously at all.
I mean, in fairness, 40k in general today is still quite silly. It just takes itself a bit too seriously at times.
Right. It's almost a veneer of seriousness over...
it portrays itself as the grimdark and then completely laughs on the idea with in-jokes, references, and characters who do not take themselves at all seriously, and characters who take themselves far too seriously. Gilliman. Actually, no, Gilliman's stopped taking himself so seriously now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's actually, a more interesting character now.
Actually, I saw a post in your server of a quote, I think it was from the start of Plague War, when they're boarding Fulgrim's ship. And the conversation between Gilliman and some Ultramarine is like, theoretical, this ship, this was not, this operation was not, worth having just one ship, so it must have been for another reason. Theoretical, to get Gilliman on the ship. If your practical involves sending me to the back of the line, then you can buzz off. I'm not going to quite repeat how Gilliman said it, but that was Gilliman's answer to...
I imagine it being more like, theoretical, this ship is a piece of shit. We should just shoot it. Practical, nah, I can't die that way. That's just me being cynical, though. Still, I think the best thing in regards to Fulgrim's ship being mentioned was probably in the Korax novel. Just like, when Gilliman and Korax are talking, it's like, oh, have you been aboard the Pride of the Emperor? It's like, yes, it's like being punched in the face with a perfumed fist.
What a line.
Huh. I mean, that could describe the fan base to a lot of companies.
Is it time for questions, perchance, considering the time?
Yeah, so because I don't think you can hear me 85% of the time I'm speaking, I'm going to try and copy-paste what I write and then try and say it.
Gotta love Discord connection issues, ladies and gentlemen.
To be fair, I don't think this is Discord. I think this is just my internet being awful. So, first question. How do traitor warbands of Chaos Marines and Heretics interact with agents of the Dark Mechanicum? Do they do jobs for them, or do they form alliances, etc.?
Yes.
That's not the most helpful answer, but I suppose it is the answer.
I mean, it's kind of like both, to be honest. Because like some will do like odd jobs from like I think it's like the Black Legion novels. There is a space station that's controlled by the Dark Mechanicum, and they actually have essentially hired like a warband of Iron Warriors to basically act as like bodyguards for them or something. Where sometimes Dark Mechanicum agents will just be on ships to do odd jobs for the Traitor Legion warbands, like, hey, we need you to repair this part of the ship. It's like, okay, kind of thing.
Fair enough.
Okay, right. Yeah, I think that sums that up. So, next question then. Bit of a long one, so brace yourselves. Is there any lore, codex, or novel on what training and secrets Tech Marines receive whilst they are on Mars? Are they sworn to any kind of secrecy? And how do chapters that are 100% Imperial truth feel about the worship of the Omnissiah? Are they expected to convert to the faith of Mars, even if their chapter has always brought them up on the Imperial truth? How are they tutored? Is it one-to-one? Do they have some sort of strange, oversized Tech Mechadendrite-laced classroom? And do any go too far and disappear? Like, do we have any information on this stuff?
In regards to the tutor, I recall, I think it was in Eye of Ezekiel, that a Dark Angels Tech Marine does mention that a Tech Priest was his mentor. So I assume that, going for that, I assume that, Tech Marines will have, a Tech Priest who adopts them, basically, to go through the whole Cult Mechanicus kind of thing.
Yeah, even Cole had a mentor back in the Mechanicum days, so that's because he nicks their sort of personality and integrates it with his own.
Yeah.
What's a face Sigma?
In regards to Imperial truth and the machine cult interaction kind of thing, I think they just treat it as a necessary evil. It's like, well, he's not part of the chapter cult, but he's blessed in the ways of the machine cult, and he's like, he knows how to fix our shit, so we're just gonna tolerate it kind of thing. I guess.
Like a don't ask, don't tell policy?
Yeah, in a way.
I feel like when they have to sort of like praise the Omnissiah and badger the machine spirit, it can't be a case of don't ask, don't tell. It's right there on display. But I think certainly chapters sort of like chapters who don't like psychers might have to look the other way for having a librarian. I think it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So next up, why do you think the Emperor had to actually make a deal with Chaos in the first place? I always assumed it had something to do with the ability to create souls for the Primark project, but I'd like to hear the probably better takes on it. I'm quoting the question.
Wasn't the deal supposedly so he could get the knowledge on how to make the Primarchs? Because we know that the Emperor, while he did at some point become a great gene smith in his own right, he wasn't the be-all, end-all expert because the lunar cults had knowledge way in advance of him.
Correct.
That's why, it was such a priority to get them under control.
And also the mass production facilities.
Yeah, that too. So I think it was just like, I don't know how to do this. Give me the knowledge to make this shit. I guess. I mean, it's probably one of those things where the simplest answer is probably the correct one. So it's probably just, he just needed the knowledge how to do shit.
Part of what I always think about is with the deal on Molech, or the interaction on Molech, was the Emperor basically giving himself a power boost so that if he used, say, his own genetic material, it would be powerful enough to create these demigods beneath him, because he needed the power so that anything created from him would be powerful enough in turn. And we also very recently got an idea of Primark powers and whether the Primarchs are actually psychers. You found a quote on that, which I'll let you share in a moment. And I think maybe the Emperor just needed enough power to be able to do what he needed to do. Maybe he had the know-how, or at least he had the brains around him to have the know-how. He just couldn't do the psychic bit, or he couldn't do the sort of actual transmuting
warp energy into living flesh.
Yeah, he just didn't have the power to do it, so yoink, yeet, I'm out, and then goes and does it. Which is kind of like why Horus gets so much more powerful by going to Molech and basically doing the same thing. I always assumed that was supposed to be a dark mirror image of having the power to make and unmake the universe as they see fit with that power, not for any knowledge per se.
Ignorant question here. What did the Emperor trade for the knowledge to...
We don't know.
With this deal with Chaos? Oh, okay, so it's just unknown.
But some believe that there was no deal at all and that the Emperor just nicked it, which is why the Chaos Gods were so miffed. So we don't know.
Makes sense in a way.
I like that story.
I mean, that probably is what happened knowing the Emperor, because, let's be honest, the Emperor has been known to be a bit of a dick.
The Emperor is a piece of S to anyone who's not the Emperor.
That's not true. He is nice to the custodians. And Malcador.
Okay, almost anyone.
He protects the sisters once in a while.
Anyway, you've dug up some info on Primark's psychic abilities. Did you not? You at least you fed something to me that I hadn't seen before, so do you want to share that?
Yeah, basically, it's a passage from Dark Imperium, like from when Guilliman goes to meet with the cool Inferior. And the passage states that while Guilliman lacked the psychic potential that his father had granted to several of his brothers, he was a child of the Emperor's making, and was sensitive to psychic energies of which a true non-psychic would be ignorant. Now, considering they made it a point to differentiate between a non-psychic and a child of the Emperor, aka a Primark, that does mean that, however minor it is, a Primark is psychic in some way. It just means, because, let's be honest, not all the Primarchs will be able to weaponize their psychic abilities, and not all Psykers know that they are Psykers. Because, in Necromunda, for example, a lot of Psykers just believe that they're either incredibly lucky or just good at guessing things.
Yeah, that's one of the big dangers. That's what the Inquisition runs around, constantly watchdogging for that reason,
Exactly,
I thought.
yeah.
Because you could just accidentally, whoops, there's a tear in the warp, oopsie.
But we know that some of the Primarchs did have abilities, Magnus, Lorgar, and Kurz. They could all weaponize their psychic abilities, like pyromancy, telekinesis, etc. For those wondering where Kurz used telekinesis, it was in the audio drama The Dark King. He blew up his soul with a blast of telekinetic energy. And he also had precognition. Sanguinius and the Lion had precognition, but the Lion's was actually very minor in comparison to Sanguinius.
Yeah, because Sanguinius could, see everything.
Yeah. Angron pre-Butcher's Nails could take away the pain of others.
Is that is that a psychic ability, passive psychic, or is that just Primarch blood being overpowered? Because I know...
No, he was basically touching them.
Right, I'm thinking of the healing by drinking his blood thing. Sorry, my bad.
No. He was be healed, my child, kind of thing.
Right.
Korax could basically turn invisible. Whether he actually turned invisible himself or just alter the perception of anyone nearby, up for debate. Perturabo could always sense where the Eye of Terror was.
Which is a really weird trait.
It's a really weird one, yeah.
He's not even that affected by the eye 95% of the time. Maybe he was drawn there because he was supposed to die there?
Maybe. As I said, it could just be a very minor trait. It's I know where this warp rift is at all times. It's a useless fucking ability. I'm guessing Guilliman's was super administration powers. I can balance the budget in 15 seconds.
To be fair, this then raises the question: how many of those traits were put there by design? Because Guilliman's feels like it was put there by design.
Well, considering he was, the diplomat, it does make sense.
Something like Perturabo's, why would he have that? That feels like an accident. And the Lions at precognition makes sense.
It probably was.
So how much of it is accident and how much of it is design?
I mean, the fact that, you have at least 3 Primarchs who had precognitive abilities makes me feel that was somewhat intended. Though, it kind of got fucked up in how it got evenly distributed, because, Lions was weak, Sanguinius was, medium, and Curse was, so overpowering, it's oh god, make it stop!
Corax feels intentional, but...
Yeah. Magnus just feels intentional as well, because he was designed to be right, you're going to be the fucking Duracell battery for my chair.
It's rude, but it's true.
Also, this is a reminder that Magnus did everything wrong.
By accident.
Doesn't matter. Still did everything wrong. Remember, the road to hell was paved with good intentions.
Fair enough.
Oh yeah, and apparently Jagatai could basically use the Speed Force.
What?
He could go faster than any other Primarch, apparently.
We're not talking about, super fast processing power. We're talking about actual super speed.
Pretty much. I need to double check it, but apparently that's one thing he had.
Okay, so maybe Jagatai Khan on a Razorback was Jagatai Khan running as fast as a Razorback. Oh, God.
Gotta go fast.
Right, okay, we'll double check that one before next episode.
Cue the Sonic the Hedgehog
that
music.
seems too ridiculous. And I know I'm saying that about Primarchs, who are the definition of overpowered ridiculous.
I was going to say, too ridiculous when Lorgar survived a point-blank blast from a volcano cannon, or when Angron survived being stepped on by a Titan.
I know the Primarchs are overpowered ridiculous. I know they are.
Or most ridiculous of all, the fact that Gilliman can breathe in space.
I know the Primarchs are overpowered.
Who does he think he is, Batman?
But, super speed is not, being able to, being super fast is one thing, but actually being able to feel a speed force that no one else knows about. We're treading on Orc subspace from the War of the Beasts, which everyone sort of reliably panned for being ridiculous and RKO out of nowhere. So that's why the Primarchs doing superhuman things is fine, because they're supposed to be overpowered as sin. But Speed Force?
I mean, is it any more ridiculous than Vulcan having his head explode then being fine 10 minutes later?
Reincarnation. It's a thing.
Plot armor, it's also a thing.
Yes, there is also plot armor.
Is it also more ridiculous than the fact that, again, to reiterate, Gilliman can breathe in space?
I don't know, this sounds legit.
I know.
Without a
much
helmet.
easier to balance the budget up there. It's peaceful and quiet.
He was also punching a word bearer in the face while he did it.
Well,
I mean, bear in mind, space is not a vacuum. There is a little bit of stuff in space.
exactly.
Not a lot. It's not probably enough that you couldn't survive on it normally, but for a few seconds, maybe he could. I don't know how long was he spaced?
I mean, he was in the middle of an actual battle between the word bearer, Ultramarines and the word bearers above Calf. I mean, here's a screenshot from No Fear, and this is actually a scene from the book itself. He gets dragged out of the bridge into space without his helmet, because they make a big point he forgot his helmet or couldn't grab it in time. He punched a few word bearers and then casually walked to the nearest airlock and went back in without a helmet.
That was 2 minutes.
In space.
He's a Primark.
So is it really ridiculous to consider that Jagatai Khan can basically turn into the Flash?
I think
well, do they indicate how fast?
I have a problem with Sorry, I'll let you finish your point. Sorry.
You're good. No, go ahead. I'm just asking, how do they describe how fast he's actually going? Are we talking about the Flash?
Let me just get the point passage up 1 second.
Yeah, to reiterate, I don't have a problem with Jagatai being able to do something overpowered ridiculous. I have a problem with the idea of there being, if there is such a thing as I know Remleiz might be analogizing when he says the Speed Force. Jagatai having lightning reflexes, lightning processing power so ridiculously fast that the world moves in slow motion. Okay, that's one thing. There being an actual physical concept like a Speed Force that is sensitive only to him, that I have a problem with, if that makes more sense. The Primarchs being overpowered and doing nonsense is fine, but it's how they do the nonsense that isn't just them being overpowered that I have a problem with. Does that make more sense and make me sound less petty and like I'm being a hypocrite?
I don't know. So then the real question is there a light force? Is there a force, or is it just him being super
Yeah, like, is there such a thing as a speed force? If there is, why is it only sensitive to him? And there's the problem. Not, is he just lightning fast? That's fine. The Primarks are designed to be BSOP, whatever the author needs them to be. That's fine. It's just the concept of this other thing, the speed force. It's like, okay, so we've got war energy, we've got warp energy, we've got the webway, we've got subspace, and now we have this speed force. And also, like, yeah, there's the problem that I have.
This is quite a tangent.
I mean, to be fair, the next question that I dug up basically starts by saying conspiracy theory, so we're not done going down the rabbit hole.
Oh dear.
Oh, good.
If I find out, I'll let you know, but for now, let's take it with a pinch of salt, but the fact that he apparently can enter the Speed Force isn't itself ridiculous as it is. I'll keep looking.
Okay, comments, if you know what we're on about, then please do let us know, and we'll maybe try and put an addendum in the comments or something ourselves if we...
Apparently, it's in the Warhawk of Chagoras novel, if that helps.
I didn't get that, I'm sorry.
I said apparently it's in the Warhawk of Chagoras novel, if that helps.
The Warp on Chagoras?
Warhawk of Chagoras.
Oh, Warhawk. Sorry, yeah, sorry. It was in his novel. Right, it's in his novel. I know that there's a psychic nonsense in that novel anyway, because it's around the time of Nicaea, isn't it? So...
Just
yeah,
before,
so, okay.
No, it's before then. It was, well, part of it was when they were trying to implement the Librarians to begin with.
Yes, sorry.
Because they had the conversation...
Foundation of the Librarians.
Had a conversation between him, Magnus, and Sanguinius, and they were like, hey, Khan, if you propose this, the others will listen to you because you're actually a warrior.
Yes. I couldn't quite get my head around timelines there. Sorry, my bad. Okay. So, are we done with Primark rabbit holes?
For now.
Right.
If I find anything else, I'll let you know.
Cheers. Okay, so, time to go down another rabbit hole. Bang on topic, considering the Silent King.
Down the rabbit hole, but we haven't got Frederick on the show. Hey!
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, good joke, well played. Right, so, since every new lore bit about the Necrons retcons something, and the Necrons have access to chronomancy and time manipulation, what if Necron retcons are just the Necrons changing the timeline?
Then wouldn't that mean the older books would have the new information in them? Because, paradoxes and all that? I don't know.
I know we know paradoxes are a thing because of the Lost War. We know that is a thing, but also we know that Orican the Diviner subtly shifts events constantly. So there was an event where he was supposed to have a conquest of this tomb world, but orcs showed up. So he went back in time, redirected some space marines, and then that caused some trouble. So the space marines then went and invaded the tomb world instead. And so I know that they seem to play fast and loose with paradoxes, at least with Orican, so they might get away with it.
Maybe, but the question is of consistency. What other things are retconned that are not related to the Necrons?
Less than you'd... obviously plenty, but less than you'd think off the top of your head. Like, the Tower have never been retconned that I can think of.
Okay. Because, if it's a known thing to happen outside of Necrons, then I wouldn't give GW the easy excuse of the Necrons just doing it.
Oh yeah, the question calls itself a conspiracy theory. It's trying to find an in-universe explanation for retcons. It's not actually trying to explain away GW retconning stuff. It's just trying to be playing with the idea.
Fair enough. And in the spirit, again, of the way Games Workshop works, then sure, that would be absolutely in the spirit of how these creatures could act.
It would also possibly explain why there's so many bloody wars in heaven, because they've all happened in different timelines, and just some people have told different stories about it as they've come through. So they've lived through one, gone back, lived through another, and all the stories got mixed up. That might explain why there's so many wars in heaven and they're all wrong. Well, not all wrong, but they're all different and different things in history. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out around now and just seeing what sticks to the wall, I guess, because there's not actually tons of questions this week.
Fair.
Fair enough.
Okay. Well, actually,
Have I died? No, I'm okay.
Oh, you're back now.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, a lot of the questions we got were mostly memes. There's a lot of memes, like find 8 Gundams. There's a Gundam question. There's...
I don't watch Gundam.
And there's... Okay, so the next one I found that I quite like the look of, and admittedly this might just be because I'm a massive science nerd and I want to answer this. So, if the idea of synapse or synapse refers to the gap in which neurotransmitters are sent from sender cell to receiver cell, how do synaptic disintegrators work if it's a chemical process? Right, okay, I'm not an expert on biology. I'm going to say that now. I'm a physicist, I'm not a biologist. And I'm also not an expert on synapses and neurotransmission and all of that stuff. The way I understand how signals are sent is as follows. A signal is sent from wherever, whether it's in your brain or somewhere on one of your extremities, and it is transmitted along nerve cells, passed along those long wires of nerve cells, which then connect to each other, and then there's a small jump. Now, the way I sort of think of those signals is kind of like, I don't want to say bioelectrics because it's wrong. So, I don't know. I feel like probably what they mean by synaptic disintegrators is they destroy sort of the edges of nerve cells where those connections or those jumps are short enough to happen, meaning that the jumps can no longer happen, signals can no longer be sent, and thus you just stop functioning and die. As for Tyranids Synapse, that's just a misnomer. It's not a synaptic link, it's a psychic link. It's just a misnomer, I think.
Just the early scientists of the Imperium just threw that name out there until they figured out how it worked. Then it's stuck by that point.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was just saying the early scientists of the Imperium, just looking at how the Tyranids were interacting and just calling it a synaptic synapse instead of what it actually is. Easy misnomer, right?
Yeah, because certainly trying to explain it as psychic dominance would start a mass panic about, wait, they can shut down our psychers and also psychically control other creatures. We need to harness this power for ourselves. And, well, let's just say that never ends well. Tau. So yeah.
But yeah, on the synaptic disintegrators, I agree, because there's that arc, that jump of information that happens, but you can't jump such a wide or huge distance. It does need to be precise, and so if you destroy that, then theoretically you wouldn't be able to make that jump anymore. Yeah, it's
like seeing lightning jump from between two things. That you get lightning that arcs from, say, a Van de Graaff generator, or like actual lightning bolts to the ground. You need to have certain conditions for the jump to be possible. So you need to have for lightning, for example, you need to have a certain electric field and capacitance build-up between the clouds, which have a huge charge, and the ground to cause a discharge to happen. And that's why the lightning will jump to the ground rather than sort of shooting out. It just jumps because that's what that's just to sort of discharge the system. It's the same idea, I think, where if you don't have the right conditions, and the human body and all organisms are exceptionally finely attuned for this, so if even a slight thing is out of whack, they're buggered. If you just fry the end cell, or the end component of every nerve cell, the end fibre of every nerve, you've killed someone. Dead. They're dead. So, I don't know. That's my best explanation as a not biologist. I might go and ask one of my A-level biology friends to explain. That's one of my colleagues who are biology teachers. I don't know. I'll see how I go for time.
If anything, it just sort of makes the weapon seem a bit convoluted. That if it's just doing that, I mean, you think just blowing a hole in the creature might...
It would work for humans, but bear in mind the ability of some creatures in the 40k universe to regenerate, or in the case of orcs, survive having their own head blown off. So it might be a case of the only way to make sure it's dead is to stop itself actually being able to put itself back together. So, sort of like in fantasy, where if you used flaming weapons, you shut down regeneration because they couldn't regenerate under the effect of flaming weapons. It's an idea of shut down the signals from the brain and the body. It can't communicate, hey, damaged, need to repair, start the cell movements for regeneration, because there's no way for that signal to go, so the brain can't command anything, and while some cells might still be able to move by pure luck and or hormone response, which is a different problem, it's a lot slower hormonally because of the fact it's got to be secreted and get through the bloodstream. It takes far too long. So it might be a way of getting around regeneration.
Could be.
God, I feel like such a nerd right now, and I love it. You love to see it. Okay, now to get back to, well, okay, it's more science, but it's more actual, useful, understandable science. If Rem is still alive, of course.
Yeah, I'm still there.
I wasn't, yeah, so you were extended silence, didn't know if you were dead. Good, right. While the writers usually make Ceramite as strong or as weak as the plot demands, if we made Space Marine armor with the idea of like this ceramic hybrid polymer armor, how strong would it be? And could it actually take what a Space Marine does?
I have no idea. To put it bluntly.
Man, we've got some really strong real-life military application type of materials anymore. I mean, even something as relatively simple as Kevlar is really, really resilient. Let's take an example. What's a standard thing that a Space Marine's armor is going to be?
Well, a bolt round is about 0.75 cal.
Calibers, okay. So,
And
I
also
believe...
rockets. And it's also an RPG. It's a 0.75 cal RPG.
Okay. So what do we see that withstands that? I don't know. Because we've got, like, transparent aluminum, which is pretty resilient, but I don't know that it would withstand that. And then again, I don't know the thickness. And how heavy is ceramite supposed to be?
We don't know, but you need superhuman strength and the black carapace interface to actually work the bleeding thing. Well, maybe you don't need quite superhuman strength, but it certainly helps.
Yeah, I was going to say, because sisters wear ceramite.
They do. So yeah, maybe they don't need superhuman strength, but I think the sisters have, like, support servos, don't they, in their armor?
I don't know if it's a black carapace.
They don't have a carapace. They definitely don't have a carapace.
Yeah,
It is. Well, it is
I'm not
powered
sure
because
exactly what they have that plugs them in.
the reason they have a backpack is that backpack basically powers the armor. So, and without that power pack, it becomes a lot harder for anyone wearing it to use it. Like if it's just a normal human, they basically become a statue. If it's a space marine, it's like, oh fucking hell, this is heavy kind of thing.
Yeah, like Space Marines can walk without power in their armor, but it's not fun.
It basically the equivalent of like walking whilst underwater or something, but heavier.
And what's the power in being generated? What is the backpack
I think it's like a miniature fusion.
I believe it's fusion.
Like...
Yeah, I believe it's fusion.
Oh, okay.
Now,
so it's a whole lot of power.
Yeah, microfusion is something we'll get there. We might get there eventually. I don't know if we will, but we might. I think the biggest challenge actually for armor that we have to do for Space Marines is void proofing it. Like actually making resilient military grade armor that you can power that is also space proof and can survive the crushing pressures of like vacuum, well not the pressures of vacuum, that's a lie, or the lack of pressures of vacuum and also the deep pressures of the undersea, and to be completely airtight sealed and all of that stuff. There's a lot of void proofing you have to do, which is why the Thunder Warriors were so useless.
I mean, if you get them, you just breathe in space and be done with it, so...
There's that. Makes it a lot easier.
How's that for a callback?
It's an interesting one. I don't think anyone has ever tried ceramic style armor purely because of the weight and the mass of the thing that you'd have to power it. I don't even think the American military is anywhere near actual powered armor, in the sense of like what the Space Marines have. I remember hearing something about like Iron Man type suits of like power armor, but I don't know if that ever went anywhere.
Wasn't there that power armor that was developed by oh god, that guy who was like trying to fight bears or something? I don't know. Oh god, what was it called? The Trojan Armor.
Oh,
That's a Trojan Armor.
yeah.
Trojan ballistic
Does it
suit.
ring a bell? I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it doesn't ring a bell to me, so I couldn't really comment on it.
Yeah, it was like supposed to be like completely sealed, and even had like
Everyone okay over there?
an intake fan in the helmet or whatever to like purify air and whatnot.
Provides projectile resistance through high
What's
hardness
that?
and
If I
compressive
recall
strength.
correctly,
Often used where weight is a limiting factor. Used by armored
I lost
vehicles
it.
and
Exhaust
personal
apparently
armor
as
for
well.
attenuation. Ah, okay. So if it's attenuating, then that's designed for.
Yeah, because it ended up
That's
looking
not
like a
designed for
lot like the
bullets,
armor
that's
from
designed
Halo.
for lasers and radiation, then, as well as projectile
Checking.
defense.
Oh, there you're back. You literally just came back
Hey.
from the void.
It's an interesting question. I don't claim to know enough about the modern physics of how our modern armor works because I'm not a military grade engineer. I'm a physics teacher. I'm just a physics
Modern
teacher
physics.
I didn't catch that.
I said the modern physics.
Okay,
thought-
yes. Okay, physics has never changed. Our understanding of it has completely revolutionized. I'll put it another way then. Fine.
There you go.
Yeah, so I'm not up on military grade engineering and the physics behind it to comment in full. But can we do it? Yes.
Yes, we
can it
can.
survive what a space marine does?
Probably
No,
not.
probably not.
Well, no, because the
That's what
Space Marine
demands.
survives whatever the writer decides he
as the person
survives.
says,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
power armor is as tough as the
And-
plot demands it.
Right. So, with that in mind, the idea of ceramic armor obviously does exist. It's not as hot shot as what
I just
Space
find it
Marines
funny,
call.
like in regards
get called.
to Terminator armor, it's supposed to be capable of like withstanding high-speed micro-orbital debris, missiles, laser cannons, whatever. But a single gene stick can puncture like a hot knife going through wet tissue.
Well, yeah, just play Space Hulk. That's dang well the
Yeah, I was
case.
just
You gotta wonder how sharp is a gene stick's claw then? If Terminator armor can withstand high-speed micro-orbital debris, but not a claw of a gene stealer.
I assume that they just drop from a bad angle and find a weak spot, rather than just straight up rip through it.
Turns out just phases through the armor's like, haha, not touching you, bzoom, kind of thing. I don't know. There's weirder things that's happened, let's be honest.
Yes, there is. Right, have we got
Like Gilliman
time
breathing
for
in space. I think we have time for one.
Okay, let's have a look. In fact, I'll let.
And no, I'm not gonna let go how stupid the idea of Gilliman breathing in space is, because that was dumb. I'm sorry, but it was.
Yeah, fine.
It's remind me of that short patch comic. It's like, who are you? I'm Batman, and I can breathe in space. Kind of thing. Also, I don't know if anyone's ever read Short Patch, but it was fucking hilarious.
Okay. Right. I'll finish on this one then.
So I'll have to-
So I'll just copy this in here. So, knowing the Dark Angels and their addiction to secrecy and cover-ups and all that, what did they actually tell the Imperium about Lionel Johnson? Did they say he vanished? Did they say he died? Did they say he got lost in the warp? Or did they just say, I use my right to remain silent, I'm not answering your question? And so no one actually knows what happened to Lion. I mean, they don't really know either. So what did they say?
Well, the first question I have to that is, do Miranda rights even exist in the Imperium? which would be your right to
If you
remain
remain silent, the Imperium is like, aha, you're silent, that means you're guilty, that means you die. Kind of thing. It's like, you spoke, aha, you spoke, that means you're confessing your guilt, that means you die.
So let's assume they lie.
To make it work, they had to tell us near to the truth as possible, which would be...
We were putting down a rebellion, then we lost him.
MIA. They have to go with MIA as the answer, because they can't talk about the warp storm that broke the planet. They could probably get away with saying he died when Caliban was broken, because, I mean, that's what they think, I assume, because they couldn't find his body. So they might have assumed he died.
Maybe.
Well, clearly they don't watch enough movies.
Clearly.
When Luther died...
how's the warp storm?
The Chaos... Well, there's two versions of events. One says the Chaos Gods got so mad at being thwarted again that they threw up a warp storm across the planet to whisk the Fallen across space-time.
Well, the other basically has, it was caused by the modern-day Dark Angels trying to prevent some other shenanigans from the past time traveling. Oh, confusion kind of thing. Basically.
Because
why would they get in trouble
if a warp storm swallowed up their planet and broke it, that doesn't look good on your corruption record. Especially when your Primark just went missing and we've just had the Horus Heresy.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. So that's when that happened.
Yeah, it was like literally like the day after.
Yeah, it was pretty much like Lion and Russ had a punch-up, Lion went home, Lion went missing. That was how post-Heresy Dark Angels went.
And then they decided, our planet blew up, our Primark's gone. You know what? We need to change the colour of our armor. Let's paint it green. Because why the fuck not? Still makes no sense.
Indeed. I guess they would probably, lore-wise, they'd probably assume that he died. I mean, like, you're assuming, it seems like you guys are assuming that they think he died, so they would probably share that information that they think he died, and then there will be just a surprise later on.
Basically, they never found his body and the world cracked, so there's enough reason to assume that his body was swallowed up. Well, there's a few arguments. One, his body was broken when the planet was, so they couldn't find it, but that seems unlikely. 2, he got spaced. They'd have found it. 3, he got warped. That is more reason to panic than anything else. 4, he's not dead.
Right.
5, he's actually asleep on a ship. And they don't realise it.
Well, yeah, he was taken away during the aftermath before the Dark Angels came down. He was taken by the Watchers in the Dark to the heart of what became the Rock. So only the Watchers in the Dark know that he's alive.
Unless you believe that one vision at Sequel. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, but they wouldn't. Oh, I was just saying that that's not anything then they would say to the Imperium, that they would report back.
Sorry, I cut out. I didn't hear that, sorry.
Oh, okay. It's fine. So, yeah, but those other theories of him possibly being alive or being whisked away, if the Dark Angels don't even know, that wouldn't be something they would even know to not share, I guess. So that's unlikely to be part of the story.
I think it's just because, like, I imagine you're the new leader of the Dark Angels and the leader of the new Inquisition comes calling. Right, where's Lion? We don't know. What do you mean you don't know? There was a rebellion on our home world, and then the planet broke and we can't find him. So it's going to look like either they murdered him and hid the body, he was lost to the warp, not the Inquisition would know that, or the Dark Angels are absolutely incompetent, or he's not dead.
I mean, in fact, Dark Angels are pretty incompetent.
If you're the Inquisition.
Would the Inquisition demand proof that he's dead? I mean, when they ask, how do you know he's dead?
Well, they could just say, we haven't found his body, we assume he's dead. Okay, how did you not find a body? There's just a giant pile of floating space debris and a tiny asteroid left. How can you not find him? 2, are you hiding it? Okay, that looks awful. So they're either incompetent, corrupt, or flat out lying and he's not dead, in which case what actually happened to him. None of them look good, especially when the Imperium is looking at everything for a traitor.
And then what happens next is that we got the Inquisitor and the Dark Angel's chapter master having this argument. Then Lionel Johnson just walks past in his pajamas, goes to the fridge, makes himself a cup of coffee, and goes back to his bedroom. And I was like, "Did you just see that?"
I feel like they'd be too busy arguing to notice.
Quite possibly.
Seems about right.
And you got the watchers just going, "Ooh, teeny."
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't meaning to shout down anything you said there, by the way. It's just, I don't know. I wasn't. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry.
No, there's just a delay, and we're not always hearing each other with the internet connection the way it is.
So with that in mind, I think it might be best to cut this episode here.
It's 2 hours.
So,
2 hours.
not bad. So, thank you very much to everyone who joined into this episode. We hope it was actually, listenable at the very least, given all the issues. But at least it wasn't as bad as last week, or week after, before that, rather.
Yeah, literally, they called you the Silent King last episode.
But anyway, thank you very much to WarGamerGirl for joining us this week.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
You're more than welcome. So, until next time, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
This has been Tactica Imperialis.
And WarGamerGirl.
And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.